Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm Maya Tusi, and we have some breaking news as the Chinese Communist Party are now officially joining the hot zone that is the Middle East. The conflict between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the State of Israel is escalating. Next week is the official final deadline that President Trump has set for the Iranian regime to surrender the nuclear program. This weekend was supposed to be the final round of negotiations, but the Islamic Republic are not going to be participating in these talks, which means that they only have a few days left until they confirm whether they want to carry on with the nuclear program or whether they're going to be cancelling this. In the meantime, obviously, we have to wait for Israel and or the United States to strike the Islamic Republic's nuclear facilities, but the Chinese Communist Party have come to the rescue of the IRGC. So President Xi, who is quite close with Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, has now decided to help the Iranian regime by sending a lot of ballistic missile material. So this actually comes after the Iranian regime ordered thousands of tons of ballistic missile materials from China, enough to actually produce up to 800 ballistic missiles, as it will obviously is seeking to rebuild its arsenal after the talks with the US has clearly massively failed. It's fascinating how the talks have won because the first few days and weeks of the negotiations, we had a lot of briefings against the White House. There were a lot of reports saying that Steve Witkoff, the negotiator, and President Trump are going to be going soft with the Iranian regime. So every time those reports came out, President Trump had to double down, deny those claims and say, you know what, no enrichment, zero uranium enrichment. So those reports, who were negative against the White House, kind of helped put pressure on the president to ensure that he doesn't go soft, and he didn't. So that has kind of made things complicated for these negotiations, because that means that the Iranian regime are not going to move away from the red line, because the White House have now confirmed that even an interim deal, some sort of buying some time transition deal, the Iranian regime will still not be able to enrich uranium. So they had to go to China. They had to ask for some support. Meanwhile, we have the former head of the Iranian's Atomic Energy Organization, Faridun Abbasi, confirming again that apparently Iran have reached the capability already to build nuclear weapons, and they did this secretly 15 to 20 years ago. Let's quickly go to him as a reminder.
یه مصاحبه کردم گفتم آقا 15 یا 20 سال ما از موضوع اینکه بتونیم سلاح بسازیم گذشتیم. برای چی؟ نساختیم. سلاح یه ماده میخواد، یه فناوری، دو قسمت داره. یعنی اگر شما ماده رو داشته باشی، یعنی اورانیوم رو داشته باشی یا پلوتونیوم داشته باشی، چه فناوری روش سوار میکنی؟ فناوری انفجاری باید داشته باشی.
So he said this initially, and again today the Islamic Republic doubled down and confirmed that yes, we have actually done this. Instead of actually playing ball, instead of saying no, everything is peaceful, we haven't really enriched that much uranium, they are changing the narrative. Until now, they've been saying the exact opposite, but over the last few days, since Abbasi said this, they've just said yes, we have. In the meantime, mysterious fires and explosions and sabotage continue to happen across the country in Iran. As we get closer to the final deadline set by President Trump, we are seeing more fires. We've had a lot of these weird situations in Iran. Latest explosion in Iran destroyed the Chinese ammunition, which was meant for the ballistic missile production, the same thing that we are talking about in this video. Iran have also, for the first time, provided long-range ballistic missiles to Shia militias in Iraq. That includes the Hezbollah of Iraq, that are slightly different to the Hezbollah of Lebanon. They're the sister party, basically. This whole factory and facility, which was for the Chinese Communist Party's ballistic missile material inside Iran, went boom boom. Now, obviously, the first group to be accused of doing this is Mossad. Mossad is the only organization that, well, first it can do this, and it's in their interest to do that because China have taken over Iran. Well, they started this about 20 years ago. And the Chinese Communist Party at this point own big chunks of Iran. All the contracts and everything else in terms of the land, the Chinese Communist Party is everywhere in Iran. So at this point, if things escalate, well, when things escalate, Iran will eventually be seen as the proxy of the CCP. Right now, Iran is seen as the godfather of Islamism in the Middle East. But of course, the close relationship between the Islamic Republic and China means that China is the final boss. And China continues to expand its empire. You've seen what they've done in Africa. You've seen what they've done now in the Middle East. So that is the main issue that we are going to be discussing later on. Having said that, in Iran, things are not going too well. The capital, Tehran, is once again experiencing widespread power outages. About 15% of the city has once again been affected last night and tonight. Well, obviously blackouts are not unusual at this point in Iran, but this wasn't planned. The state media in Iran actually hinted that they say that is a possible transformer accident, but there's no official cause that has been confirmed. So this is what they do, by the way. They always like play it down, saying, yeah, it's fine, it's just an accident. Well, big chunk of the city has gone dark again. Now, we know something is going on. We know they are in crisis. They can't even manage basic resources and facilities that they have. Now, the foreign minister, Araghchi, has come out to say after years of good cooperation with the IAEA, resulting in a resolution which shut down all these claims of a possible military dimension to Iran's nuclear program, our country is once again accused of non-compliance. So this refers to the IAEA that discovered, until now they were very supportive of Iran, but this is the organization that is in charge of the nuclear issues. They've discovered that the Iranian regime have been doing secret facilities and tunnels for nuclear. And this coming week, they're going to be having a major meeting with the Americans and everybody else to decide what to do with Iran. That's separate to Trump's own deadline for the Iranian regime, which is next week. So Araghchi has hit back saying, instead of engaging in good faith, these guys are opting for a malign action against Iran at the Board of Governors at the IAEA. When they are engaged in the same foul conduct back in 2005, the outcome in many ways was the true birth of uranium enrichment in Iran. Falsely accusing Iran of violating safeguards based on shoddy and politicized reporting is clearly designed to produce a crisis. Mark my words, as Europe ponders another major strategic mistake, Iran will react strongly against any violation of its rights. Blame lies solely and fully with irresponsible actors who stop at nothing to gain relevance. So once again, the Iranian regime are threatening the West, but the previous statement is more important. He said, the last time you guys were trying to basically keep an eye on us in 2005, do you know what we did? We started enriching uranium. It's like Hamas that says, well, we want Gaza. And then you give Gaza to the Palestinian side in 2006, right? And then they say, well, by the way, we want to wipe out the Jews. I'm like, okay. And then they do it. And then Israel defend itself. And they say, oh, how dare you do it? This is exactly what we did in the first place. We're going to do it again. While you're being attacked by Israel, Hamas says, we're going to do it again. It's the same with Iran. The Iranian regime is saying, well, our reaction is going to be, we are going to be escalating. Last time you were going to check to see what we're up to, we started enriching uranium. So that's not really cooperative, is it? Like they are showing their cards, saying we cannot be trusted. Now, why do we have to continue to negotiate with these nutters? But again, the main problem, it goes back to Beijing. Because the Chinese Communist Party continue to encourage bad behavior. They keep telling the Iranian regime, do it, don't worry, we've got your back. But at the end of the day, China will abandon Iran if he has to. The moment they know that the IRGC is going down, they'll be like, okay, well, that's gone. Let's move to a different country and continent. That's what they always do. Some reaction in the live chat. First, we have Ivan. Thank you very much for your super chat, saying, how reliable are cheap Chinese missiles? That's the thing. Let's not forget the way China trades globally. They make the good stuff for themselves, with anything really, with any sort of product that you think of. And what they send to the West, across the world, is always the cheap stuff. So I wonder if any of this material will actually help the Iranian regime. I just need to know if you found your bag. I can't sleep till you tell me. I've already talked about this yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday and Wednesday night. Yes, I found a bag after the live stream. Thank you guys for your consent. It was quite panicky after the court with Tommy Robinson. Marsh Cohen says, UPO, I don't blame the Chinese. Money is money. True. They don't like cancer at all. But it's not about Islam when it comes to China and the Iranian regime. Nothing to do with Islam. Just like we unfortunately arm Azerbaijan versus Armenia, that's Israel, by the way, all interests me. Yeah, no, it's nothing to do with Islam. I don't know why people bring in religion into this. When it comes to geopolitics, religion has nothing to do with it. Geopolitics is all about strategic partnerships. Sometimes it's enemy of an enemy is a friend. Sometimes it's a troublemaker that I can control could be better. For example, when the CIA, MI6 and France were backing the Islamic occupiers of Iran, in 1979, when they took over, didn't really mean that the CIA and MI6 were in favor of Islam. They just thought that they could control these nutters, and it would be better to have a puppet in Iran compared to the Shah of Iran. Because they wanted the Shah of Iran to be a puppet, but of course he wanted to be an independent, equal partner, and they didn't like it. Tony says, China, the pin-up country for a quality versus quantity. Yeah. God's best friend says local warming. Yep. Another one says for MAGA, Pakistani WLFI is the best investment. Jihadists are advisors. Julani is the statesman, business partner, and future CEO. And ISIS are the workforce. That's a very complicated game of Monopoly. And Sunny here says China is using Islamists as proxies to test its missiles and weapons. But there's just a lot of puppets all around the world for both sides, the Eastern globalists and Western globalists. Let's quickly go to the members of 2CTV Plus. They also get a priority when it comes to the comments after the super chats. So if you want to be a member of 2CTV Plus, join 2CTV Plus on 2C.tv, our website. What's going on here? Oh, no. Where's it gone? Oh, there you go. We found it. All right. Squirrels Away says the IRGC are like a Chinese proxy. Yeah, China would say that Israel is the US proxy. Yeah, exactly. And the US supply Israel. I'm not surprised one little bit that China are supplying the IRGC. This is exactly the point. It's all about worldview. Everybody has their own worldview. And that's how the Eastern globalists see it. That they literally see Israel being a proxy of America in the Middle East. That's how they see it. And that's how we see the relationship between Iran and China. Sue says, show me who your friends are and I'll show you what you're guilty of. Pookie says that this crap is turning into another proxy war, just like Ukraine. Who else is going to have a war for America? Well, hopefully no troops will have to go to the Middle East. That would be absolutely chaotic. Terrible, terrible mistake. Do not need American soldiers in the Middle East again. China likes showing off how strong and advanced they are, but their muscles are mostly composed of hot air. Yeah, so this is the whole point. A lot of the things that the Chinese Communist Party do is all just posturing. So they have demonstrated a lot of the advanced technology when it comes to military with all the parades that they do, right? It's a very traditional military parades. They still do that, like Russia and Iran. But when they were actually showing that the drills and the trainings, they have all these like robots and drones, they were falling apart. I think in their defense, it's still early days to use like full robots, but they were not going well in the actual drills. In the presentation, they look really good. V6 says, this is from President Xi and CCP. This from Xi and CCP just turned up the heat from gas max 2 to 6. The question is, which chicken is going to get cooked first? Flame grilled or nuke? And how big the fallout or hole? So I mean, at this point, realistically speaking, if any sort of nuke is used, anywhere is going to be tactical nuke. So, which is still, by the way, very, very bad. But I'm just saying that they have already developed a more targeted way of all sides. I'm talking about everybody, from the Americans and the Chinese and all the others, to be able to get away with it, rather than saying, well, that's it. One nuke has been used. Let's just wipe out the whole planet. It's a very, very bad escalation, by the way, to eventually normalize small nuke. By the way, small nuke is still very, very large. It's not like it's just going to destroy a house. And the radiation is going to be everywhere. Live chat question. Maya, do you think that the reason Trump and Elon parted ways was because of China? Tesla needs China. I think that's been part of it. Not really. I think there are much deeper conflicts between them, as I mentioned previously as well. Everything is coming out, but it doesn't really mean that's the main reason. Marmite says, now we know who has been bombarded with all of China's dodgy weapons returns. Yeah, they're not good. Trust me, the quality from China is not good. Quantity is not always quality. Next question is, will Elon disconnect Ukraine Starlink if he goes to Russia? He's not going to go to Russia. I can assure you Elon is not going to go to Russia. That will be a weird escalation, plot twist. Missile deliveries. Timu. Yes. Mike says, could China be receiving Iranian oil in return? Yes, they do. Regularly, of course. They've had a relationship for a very, very long time. It's not a new partnership. Oh God, we got the picture of me in the bag. Humpty says maybe they will send the nukes from Timu. All the Timu jokes are coming, great. And Lady J Windsor says, Maya, how do you think that the Trump administration are going to react to this? I think they're just going to be quiet about this. They're not going to kick off completely, because the Americans are doing their own talks with China. They will probably discuss it in a meeting, but not publicly. Because I don't think they want to raise the escalation with China on all fronts. They have the trade war to deal with. And I think the idea is to deal with the Iranian regime first. And then if it gets to that point where the IRGC is being hammered, then the West could go to China and say, oh, by the way, we're just treating them as your proxy. This is not a direct war on you. But again, it's just speculations, obviously, at this point. They're not going to escalate things directly with China, not yet. But even though that's the main goal at the end. Now, Moshe is back from Israel saying, no, I meant that we know it's not an alliance, it's money. Yeah, I mean, yeah, money and strategic, global strategic planning. Because the Iranian, Iran as a country is the major country, one of the major countries in the Middle East in terms of the location. So, of course, it's in the interest of China to have all the contracts. There's a lot of stuff inside Iran in terms of resources. That's why they're there. And also just to basically show America we can also do the whole superpower game nonsense. Alessandro says, do you think that the US could collapse from an Iran war? The US will never collapse. That's not really how the American experiment goes. No, of course not. No, the Iranian regime are too weak to even survive that. So Iran will go, and it's all about what will happen next. One of the reasons that the Trump administration are not really keen to just randomly start a war with Iran is because they still have the whole Ukraine-Russia tensions. You can't get everybody angry at the same time. If you randomly start attacking Iran, then Russia will be angry, then China will be angry, then you have to deal with all that nonsense. So you have to take it slowly. And if Israel attacks, then America could, behind closed doors, they could say, you do it, we're going to have to criticize you. Because America can't really come across as condoning that behavior. Because then Putin would say, I'm not going to negotiate when it comes to Ukraine. President Xi will just escalate the trade wars and everything is just going to be more difficult. So it's a bit of a lose-lose situation. So that's why, ironically, Israel will be the US's proxy. Not really, but yes, in terms of, in practice. Israeli Shin Bet is a proxy of Hamas. No, Hamas was a proxy of Mossad at some point. All right, so Gareth says, why are China helping them? Didn't they declare Islam as a mental illness and even converted mosques to public lose? Because that's not really how geopolitics works. It's not black and white. It's not like, oh, I like ice cream, I hate hot dogs. And, sometimes you still have to bite that hot dog. And also, the Muslims in China are not Shia. And the Islamic Republic of Iran who are Shia don't really care about the non-Shia Muslims. So the Iranian regime are absolutely fine with China doing whatever they want to do inside their country against the Uyghurs and everybody else. We need to start taking a serious look into the land that China has bought near our military bases. Yeah, the major expansion of the Chinese empire, you can see in the South Pacific, in terms of Central Africa, which they've kind of been pushed out of Central Africa, but they're also in East Africa. They're obviously Middle East, everywhere. There is a major issue. But again, with the Chinese, you only have to worry about, again, quantity rather than quality. Their numbers are high, and that applies to everything. Military equipment, soldiers, the population, the number of factories, the number of slaves. But quality is not the same, because China is a collectivist country, and collectivism doesn't really bring unity. It's unity by force, it's fabrication. Whereas America, and the American empire and the West, despite all its faults, at least inside the United States, that love of the American flag will mean if the Americans have to defend their own country, I'm not talking about starting a war like in Iraq, but if they have to defend their own country and their own interests, America will win. Absolutely. Donna says, why would China do that? Why would they contribute to a country and ideology that tries to conquer them? Because China doesn't see the Islamic Republic as a threat. They see them as a puppet that they're controlling. And that was the strategy that they started to use many decades ago. And the Islamic Republic will never, ever even think about conquering China. That will be a terrible idea for Iran. Did you get your bag back? Yes, I did. Thank you, guys. The main question is Maya's bag. What's happening with the 2CTV Plus members? Do we have more comments? Yes, we do. Oh my God. 2C, China has been having some significant power shifts. Lots of Xi's top generals and staff are getting disappeared. Yep, still, by the way. How do you think this might relate to their connection and arms deals with Iran? Not really connected. There's been a lot of internal conflict inside the Communist Party for the past 5-10 years. Xi Jinping has been absolutely ruthless. And by the way, credit to the guy as a villain. He's a very good gangster. He's extremely good. But nothing lasts forever. So one day, they're going to come for him as well. Rogue Trooper says, do you know if the missiles have nuclear capabilities or just regular missiles? Yeah, no, they're supposed to just be ballistic missiles, which are quite dangerous, but they're not going to be necessarily nuclear, no. But if they were nuclear, they would not publicize it, saying, by the way, we just ordered all this nuclear stuff from China. That would be terrible. While negotiating with the US. It sure looks like the West wants World War III. I love how China is getting involved and China helps Iran, and then people still say, it's Trump and the West. Trump and the Americans won war. No, it's the Chinese empire continuing to expand. I love how there's so many people in the West who hate the West so much that even if the enemy actually makes a move against the West, they say, no, it's the West's fault. It's our own fault. It's that level of self-hatred that people have in the West. That everything is our own fault. Like somebody from our own side is doing it. Sometimes that's true, but not all the time. Sometimes it's true, like what happened in Libya or Iraq or Afghanistan, but not every time. It's never that black and white. Cindy says, hope and glory, Maya. Maya tried to show us his bag. Last night, but he couldn't find it. Yes. Oh, it's here. Finally, I've got it. I've got the evidence. Also, for the record, the context is I was outside the court. I went to the court with Tommy Robinson because they were trying to get him. And we came out. I did a whole report outside the court with Tommy, and there was a massive crowd. And I had my bag because everything I had, my laptop and iPad and all the filming equipment, everything was in the bag. And someone took it to keep it safe, and I lost it. And I kept shouting to find it, right? But before that, during the live stream, one of our friends, who's also an independent reporter, decided to say, apparently my bag is gay. I have a gay bag. I'm going to show this. Does this look like a homosexual bag? It's just a bag. It's a Ted Baker bag. Come on, guys. There's nothing homosexual about it. Also, there's nothing wrong with gay bags. I just don't have one of those. Some of my best friends are gay bags. Gay bags. It's, you know, at best it's a lesbian bag because it's very butch, right? Very manly. Even though it's Ted Baker. I didn't know Ted Baker do men's bags, but it's a backpack. It's a backpack. But my fiance got it for me, so it's her fault. So. What? Okay. 7th of October was an invitation by Shin Bet. I love how this person's seen secret documents that nobody has seen. Alessandro says, when do you think Israel will strike Iran? Well, I don't do speculations, but realistically, theoretically, it's supposed to be within the next couple of weeks, because next week is the deadline that Trump has set. And that deadline is not going well for the Iranian regime. But it's all about everything else that's happening in Israel. So Netanyahu is still battling with some internal political nonsense. You got the ultra-Orthodox Jews, by the way. The ultra-Orthodox Jews are kicking off because they don't want to serve in the army. They don't want to get a job. They just want the freebies and the benefits. So the idea of now forcing them to come join the army, and they're now protesting and having a meltdown, right? So you got them to deal with. Then you got the left-wingers in Tel Aviv to deal with. You got the court cases to deal with. And then you've got the rest of the operation in Gaza to deal with. So technically speaking, it might not even happen within the next few weeks, or Netanyahu might, for political reasons, actually decide to do it quickly, as soon as possible, because sometimes more crisis helps. So I mean, it does help. Politically speaking, it does help. But you shouldn't really use that for political reasons. Ivan says, it identifies as a man bag. It's a backpack. It's a normal backpack. Come on. Oh, no. It does look a bit gay. There's nothing wrong with gay bags, by the way. But as I said, it's mostly lesbian. All right. Anyway, stop. Enough about my bag. 2C Plus members, I'm going to go to you guys. If you talk about my bag. What is this? Oh, yeah, we've got one more. Oh, no, that's it. That's the last one. Good. No trolling about my bag. All right, we're going to keep you guys posted on this as usual. Download the 2C TV app from the App Store today to stay up to date with everything. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.